blue-green fish, or blue-green merfolk, or whatever you want to call it here. So we've got the green splash, and only for Merfolk Mistbinder and Kumena here, but also for our copies of Collected Company. Now, this archetype, unlike in Modern, where it has more Lord effects, our only cards that make all of our fish bigger are Mistbinder and then Kumena in a roundabout way. Because we have a bunch of things that provide devotion to blue, there's a pair of Thassa the Sea God in here, and then Uro is a creature that we can find off of Collected Company, so we got a pair of that as well. As far as see people asking questions about details on the cards this is playing, like most of the decks that we play here, this is a viewer-submitted deck list, so I don't really have strong opinions or feelings on things until we play some games with it. I would be a little surprised if these Wizards Retorts are a deal in this deck list. I feel like this deck probably just wants to be something that brings the beat down, but perhaps this format's a little too linear that we can't race and we need to play interaction like this. I could definitely see that being the case. The only thing I changed from the original submission I got is I adjusted the mana. The original submission wasn't playing any copies of Yavimaya Coast, so it was a little bit light on green sources overall, so I added in a playset of those. Let's go ahead and dive on into a Pioneer League here with this one and see how it goes. No Lumbering Falls. Tapped lands in my aggro deck are a little bit awkward. And like, I've already got 4 Mutavaults as creature lands, so... What's going on, Huckabee? Yeah, I didn't want to... Christy and I had some plans earlier today. And, wanted to get some pioneering, so I missed a couple of mornings this week, and I don't want the queue to back up too much. A number of the decks in there have a lot of points, so I decided to pop on after things were done. It'll probably be the last deck. This is a little bit past my bedtime. It's harder for me to be on quite as much as I am during the week, later in the evening. That's why it's nap time. It is nap time, isn't it? Christy and I have like 4 episodes left in Game of Thrones the last season. Although she's probably asleep by now. She's been going to bed early. Yeah, I hope we see historic pick up. The historic content has not been super popular as of so far. I hope that changes. I've enjoyed playing the format, and we're still going to include a little bit of it, but it's hard to justify doing a whole ton when it doesn't do nearly as well as others. Listen, chat, my TV season viewing standards are really low. I've watched Charmed in its entirety more than one time. I've watched every season of Supernatural that's been put out. Y'all seem to have way higher standards than me. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Like, not only will rotation be good to give it a more distinct feel, but having more interjection of the historic anthologies would be good. How about the CW verse? Are you talking about the Arrowverse? Is that what you're referring to? There is a Charmed reboot, and actually, I like the first season of the Charmed reboot. Arrowverse, I actually just kind of ran out of time. The thing I didn't like about the Arrowverse is it always felt awkward when they did all their crossover episodes. I almost wish like you could like skip them. I guess you could probably skip them most of the time. I almost feel like they would have been better if they would have like just done movies with all the crossovers instead of like doing it across all the shows. I watched a bunch of those, but I definitely didn't watch all of them. All right, I think I just slam this since we drew it. So this way, if they have a fatal push, they don't get to eat my Silvergill in combat. And then you can see here some of the real strength of the opponent's archetype here. So like, our deck is playing interaction, but the opponent's combo deck just gets to play the single best piece of interaction in this format, and their single best piece of interaction is anti our interaction. A lot of these builds even go so far as to play Thought Erasure as well. This format post Theros release feels genuinely different than it did pre Theros release. I don't know that I'm a fan of the difference. Actually, I do. I'm not a fan of the difference. I feel for my personal enjoyment level has gone down with the introduction of Theros to this format. Yeah, honestly, like, Theros was just, like, a good reminder of how hard it is to evaluate sets. Because when the full spoiler posted, I wasn't expecting much from Theros in terms of format swings, but it swung Standard into such an amazing place while simultaneously swinging Pioneer into a place that I really don't care for. And like, just looking at the spoiler, I really wasn't expecting either of those things to happen. Hey, thanks, Tron Player. I appreciate the 19 months. Welcome back. And we're just dead, right? Like, they don't play Inverter if we're not dead. Like, we had one piece of interaction, it got thought seized, we lost. Yeah, I hope so, Navir. I hope they just didn't want to ban before the PTs, and like, Monday's gonna roll around and we'll be happy. If we see no changes on Monday, I'm gonna be scaling back how much Pioneer I'm taking and playing. Just to set expectations to reasonable. The sideboard doesn't actually have any cards for this matchup, does it? That's probably a mistake. I probably should have jammed a bunch of Mystic Disputes or something in here. I guess this cuts through their blockers, which is probably relevant. I think if they want to get rid of Inverter as a whole, they ban Inverter. I think if they want the combo to still exist, they should ban Oracle of Thassa. Because if you force them to combo with Jace, one, Jace was legal with Inverter since the start of this format and it didn't really rear its head. Two, it gives the combo less redundancy. Three, if you make them combo with Jace, a Planeswalker removal spell always disrupts their combo. The cards that meaningfully interact with this deck are few and far between, and the fact that there's so few cards that interact with it in conjunction with the fact that they get to play Thoughtseize feels really bad. All right, this is a hand that might do stuff and things. We beat all the bad decks we played against, and we lost all of the good decks we played against. The set was good, it had some good games in it, but that's definitely the TLDR. Maybe I'm just supposed to jam Mistbinder there. Let's just keep you out of my hand, I guess. That's not strictly true, Navier, right? Because you can, like, play Jace out ahead of time. You can still combo on 5. You just, like, Jace on 4, Inverter on 5. Yeah, most of these Inverter mid-range control decks are playing 4 Pack Rat and other threats in the board. So even cards like Unmoored Ego and Lost Legacy aren't the silver bullets you want them to be. Just because good Inverter players are diversifying their threats post-board. Alright, hopefully we find some fish here, and then we get to Mistbinder, and then kill them relatively quickly. Well, that could have gone better. At least we'll get to attack with this next turn. Thanks, Raver. Happy Saturday. Easy, Tricky Dick. So I think I actually don't play Mistbinder here because I want to be able to play this other Merfolk Trickster out in the event they kill something. Because, like, if I played this, they could just push the Trickster and then the Thassa's not a creature anymore. Hey, I appreciate the support, Shep. And remember, if your work hours don't line up in a way that you can stop by live, you can drop off Prime even when I'm offline, too. I appreciate the folks that do that. They're still pretty close to dead next turn, right? So I get to end step Tricky Dick here. And then I get to Brazen Borrower to animate Thassa and then attack for 7. If I draw a 1 or 2 cost Merfolk, they die here. Oh, untapped land works too, right? So I get to go this, which makes this 3. And then we get to play Brazen Borrower, which turns on Thassa, and 3 plus, 5 is 8. So opponent missed their land drop. We're able to run them down here. Borrower turns on Thassa, correct them to exactly 0. Now we have to be on the draw, which will probably prove more challenging, I imagine. Yeah, this is actually quite good. This is a Merfolk Wizard, so we get to shock this in, play this, then hold up Wizard's Retort. Our opponent is incredibly unlucky and didn't have a Thoughtseize on 1, so that's great for us. And, like, the sweet thing here is holding up the Retort doesn't even look super suspect here because we have the Benthic Biomancer, so it could look like we're just holding up the activation to draw and discard. The old Adapt trigger. That's actually kind of great. I think I'm actually going to ditch Kamena here. So the Tidebinders I can play out while still holding up Wizard's Retort, which is great. No, that's a Twitch bug that the plugin creator is aware of. Also, speaking of extensions, it's not relevant right now because we're playing Pioneer. But I have someone that's going through the Deckmaster code base for me to help me get it easily prepped to fork off and submit as our own Twitch extension so that can be kept up to date easily. So we will have the latest set cards, hopefully sometime soon, and then we'll never have any downtime without the new set ever again. So we're gonna have a little bit more wait to get the latest set, but then moving forward, like day one, we will have the sets going from here on out. Which will be great. Sure. It, like, feels bad, but at least now, like, they're not going to have a Mystic Dispute for my counterspell later, most likely, which is nice. It's a mix of JavaScript and Electron Vu. If you Google Fujiman Deckmaster, you can find the source code on GitHub. I have someone that said they think they're going to be able to take care of everything I need, but if they get hung up on anything, I'll definitely reach out to folks. I had a couple folks that pinged me that said they might be able to help, but one person said that they were going to head up taking a peek at it, and if they can get it done. It hopefully shouldn't be too much work. They basically just have to change whatever server-specific code there is, because the Twitch extension has to communicate. I don't know exactly how all the details of Twitch extension work. But like I said, if you're someone who's familiar with JavaScript or wants to poke around in it, Google Fujiman Deckmaster. You can find the existing source code up there. I think being a programmer and enjoying Magic have a correlation? Definitely. Definitely think that's the case. The types of things that make people enjoy and be good at programming work have a lot of overlap with the types of things that make people enjoy and be good at Magic. Yeah, Magic is fun in large part, in my opinion, because it's a problem-solving game. Deck building especially appeals to problem solvers, I think. And the thing I find incredibly satisfying about programming, too, is also the problem-solving aspect. Yeah, maybe they played me here. They have a counterspell or another sweeper. We're just like, just dead, kinda. I guess they're going down to 3 cards. Wow, just stone cold nothing, eh? Alright, I mean, sometimes they have nothing and they die. And that game was a good example, right? Like I talked about, I wasn't sure if these Wizard's Retorts were going to be good. That game obviously, like, won solely on the back of this card. I do think that I probably should have reassessed the sideboard and put in another 2 to 3 counter spells that we could bring in that matchup, but it was nice to see the counter spells that we have do a lot of excellent stuff. One of the reasons why I think Magic has such the success that it does is because Magic's a game that you can spend a lot of time thinking about even when you're not playing it. Like, of all the hours I spend on Magic, a lot of them aren't actually shuffling cards virtually or physically. It's working on all those deck lists off stream, stuff like that. That's true too. Magic, if you are employed as a programmer, there's probably a higher probability that you can afford to play Magic. Competent programmers tend to be paid well. I would imagine the best enchantment removal for his Esper and Historic is Mortify. I think banning Dig Through Time as the only card that they banned out of the Inverter deck would be an incredible mistake. So the fact that I've now said that probably means it's very likely that that's what Wizards of the Coast is going to do. But, you know, here we are. Yeah. I guess Ashiok comes in here. The sideboard doesn't really have a fantastic selection of things for this either. Michael Bloomberg could pay his entire 2,000 person staff $1 million each, buy $3 billion in TV ads, and he'd still have about $55 billion left over. Oh, America. All right, I'm closing Twitter now. I don't have to tweet any more deck lists tonight. Twitter makes me sad sometimes. Good chance we die next turn, huh? I think I'm just supposed to try and draw a land. And then next turn we can Coco and hopefully hit some lords and kill them. We're at least like 2 turns off of lethal though. I'd be pretty surprised if we get 2 more turns. I think Dig Through Time is the real villain. I disagree with you. I actually think this format without fetch lines in it, Dig Through Time's super reasonable. I also think if they only ban Dig Through Time, the devotion versions of Inverter are still very, very good and much better than most of the other things in this format. If you haven't seen the devotion version play out, you should check the YouTube channel. We had someone submit it, and it was very powerful. Gadwick plus Nykthos is a heck of a drug. So Thespian stage here, going to get to copy Lotus Field next turn. So we have them dead on 6, but 6 is going to be too slow here. I assume they're going to kill us on their 5. So the approximate way their deck works is they play the card Pour Over the Pages here, which lets them draw 3, discard a card, untap 2 lands. So when they cast this with 2 Lotus Fields, they gain a mana, and then they play the new enchantment card, which lets them recast spells from their graveyard while escaping 3 other cards. They draw through their entire deck using this to generate mana and draw through their deck while recasting it with the enchantment, and then they play Thassa's Oracle and win the game. I think if your primary concern is beating Donald Trump in the general election, you should be voting for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders does, policy aside, Bernie Sanders inspires a block of voters that otherwise aren't likely to vote. And that is how you beat Donald Trump. What Buttigieg and the other moderates are doing is they're trying to pander to sway people who voted for Trump previously, and anybody who's still backing Trump at this point is never going to vote for anybody with a D next to their name. It doesn't matter if it's Bernie Sanders or Pete Buttigieg. Running a middle-of-the-road, boring, moderate candidate feels safe, and that's what they did in 2016, and we all know how that worked out. And then once you actually look at policy, if you're someone that actually wants to see fundamental change in this country, Bernie's also the best candidate for that. Are they deterministic from here? I don't know how many cards they need to have in their graveyard to be deterministic from a point like this. Yeah, the way the Democrats win in 2020 is not by convincing people who are backing Trump to stop backing Trump. They're literally a cult. The way you win in 2020 is by encouraging people who don't normally vote to understand that their vote matters and that they need to get out and do it. And Bernie's campaign is the best way to do that. I believe Bernie has set a record for the most individual campaign contributions. There were a number of people who voted for Bernie Sanders in the general election, or voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary, but then voted for Trump in the general in 2016. It's a real thing. All right, so Ashiok Dreamrender here gets to come in and exiles their graveyard. Brazen Borrower doesn't really have anything super meaningful to bounce, or is it? Is bouncing their enchantment meaningful? I guess it costs them 2 mana, right? Grinding with Uro's not particularly good. Yeah, I guess I'll leave these in. It, like, beats down okay and, like, enables Thassa fine. So let's do that. There was a quote, or there was a statistic from Iowa. What was it? From the Iowa caucuses, while turnout overall stagnated, the number of voters under 25 increased by 65%, and Bernie Sanders got more of those voters than the next 3 candidates combined. That's how the Democrats can win in 2020. Bernie Sanders will almost certainly generate the highest turnout of any of the people that could be nominated with people who are under 35. If people who are under 35 vote in the same numbers as people who are over 65 vote, we will get the candidate we want. There are more of us at this point. Oh, this card is just so good against us. We have so many tutus, chat. Why do we have so many tutus? Why do we have so many tutus? Well, I'm Canadian, which means Bernie looks like a regular moderate. Shouldn't policy positions still have an impact on your candidate's opinion? Sure. All I'll have to say to you is, if you sit down and actually think about what you want, most of Bernie's policies are supported by a majority of Americans. If they actually understand what the policies are, and it's not just people crying about socialism. I think I'm supposed to play Thassa here and then start holding up Wizard's Retort next turn. Because, like, if I draw another double blue card next turn, I can start attacking with Thassa, which would be great. I just have the Thespian stage. This Wizard Retort might save us. If we draw like a Tidebinder Mage this turn, that could be enough alongside this Wizard Retort to maybe run them down. But I have a very, very small window here before they likely run us out of the game. Remember that regardless of if your state is blue or red for terms of the presidential election, it's important to vote because down ticket ballots matter. I can make this unblockable, right? Okay, so we get to get in for 2 here at least. It's not smacking for 7, but it does at least get to get in for 2 and still hold up Retort, because this is a wizard. To be fair, Gilger, one of the things I actually dislike about Bernie Sanders is I dislike that Bernie and people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have started calling themselves democratic socialists, because the fact that they've taken that term and they're trying to resculpt it and claim it, I feel like that's harder than just explaining that what they're pushing for is not socialism. Social safety nets are not socialism. Those things are different. And I feel like the fact that they're trying to claim that term muddies the water and confuses people. Thanks for the half a year support, Dirty Digits. I appreciate that. Welcome back. All right, here's a comment for you next. What's a thing that Bernie's pushing for that you feel like that doesn't already exist in Canada? What spell do I counter? I'm pretty sure we counter pour over the pages here, but maybe I'm just supposed to hold it. Maybe I'm just supposed to hold it for their, what's it called? Yeah, I'm just gonna wait and counter their enchantment, I think. Let's try that and see how it goes. Both have social in the name. How are they different? Yeah, exactly. Okay, they got a Tomb Scour. Do we have the enchantment in my future? So this lets them mill themselves over and over again. Viewer count's been slowly creeping up. Maybe we'll do a third deck after this. I don't know. Can I stay awake that long? I'm not sure if I can stay awake that long. We'll see. If we creep up to 1,000, I'm gonna squeeze a third deck in. It's hard to tell though. Like I said, this is not one of my normal stream slots by a lot. What's going on, Alec? I had a couple mornings off this week, and I just didn't want the Pioneer queue to back up too much, so I wanted to pop on and do at least a couple decks. I don't like. Ideally, I don't like people waiting more than like 3 weeks to see their deck played, and we're coming up on that about waiting that long or more right now for Pioneer. So looking for something to turn Thassa into a creature or another counterspell here. Sure, and I'm just asking you to dissect why you disagree with them, because I'm curious to know. I think this is just Tidebinder plus Silvergill Mage, right? Or Silvergill Adept. As always, the result is not so much what I care about, so much as like the whys. The details are everything. Ooh, it's actually very good to note here. I made a small mistake. So because I could have drawn a Mutavault, I should have waited to play my land out for the turn. Because I played my land out for the turn pre-collected company, I now don't have a Mutavault to attack with next turn, which could be very relevant. Could be the difference between killing them or not. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I'm probably going to stop taking Pioneer decks for $25 again for the time being, because I guess these decks were even up to like 100 points, right? Which that's like a 60-day wait. Yeah, it's not enough hours in the day. New standard popped up, and Pioneer took a back seat, and the format got worse. My drive to play more Pioneer has kind of sapped a little bit because of what you're currently witnessing. Hey, Freezy Pop, thanks for the quarter of a year. Out of curiosity, what bill was that mistake? And what did it do? Why was it bad? I was wondering what happened to Pioneer stuff. I mainly watched Deck of the Day on YouTube. I noticed Pioneer decks disappear. Yeah, we've only been doing one Pioneer deck per day. So, like, usually I only tag a deck of the day if I do multiple decks of the same format in a day. So, like, if there's only one Pioneer deck, there's no need to tag it. Well, because they're not technically rotating, Aaron. We don't call them non-changing. We call them non-rotating because the sets that they're in only ever grow larger. Trying to control drug prices. Why is trying to control drug prices bad? That's something our country as a whole desperately needs to do. I would assume you're correct. There's a lot of nuance in that discussion, but yikes. Yep. At least I still have my Thassa, and I could have been attacking for 2 with Mutavault here if I would have played my land correctly last turn. We are 1-0 in this league, although this match is going very poorly. Another collecting company is probably our best draw. Yep, yeah, Faye's very good. They have a lot of good card selection with things like strategic planning. So, without knowing the details of the bill mistake, like, something that I think people get muddled up in a lot of the time, especially people that are progressives, is that a lot of people aren't happy with something if it's not perfect. And I think too often we see people try to let perfect be the enemy of good. And a lot of the times you don't just make a sweeping change. They're like kind of iterative. And like you have to make a little change in one spot that doesn't fix everything, but still addresses some of the problems. All right, and then Breach is just lethal from here, right? They have Hidden Stirrings, and they have a Tome Scour from earlier, so we're just dead. So I guess I'm confused then, Mistake, because it sounds like the bill doesn't do what you originally said it did then. Because you're saying the bill was trying to control the drug prices, but then the bill doesn't allow them to control pricing. So then it doesn't control drug prices. So it sounds like the goal was to reduce costs for people, but the way it tried to reduce costs was bad. I guess we're going to 5, huh? Yeah, this is okay. I get to bottom this, and then if we run off a couple of lands here, getting to curve Binder into Thassa into Company, turn Thassa on, could be very good. Thassa's been quite excellent so far. Really, really efficient, powerful threat. Yes, basically. Okay, so yeah, that does sound like bad legislation if it's as you describe. Doesn't sound like it's actually doing what it's trying to do. Little bit of semantics in there, but okay. It'll be interesting to see if we can put together something aggressive enough to keep up with what the opponent's deck is doing. For people not familiar, it looks like we're playing against the Scissors deck. Okay, if we hit an untapped land next turn, we could be in a very good spot. Like if we hit untapped land, these companies could run this game out for us. That's gotta be a misclick, right? I should screenshot that. My Twitch chat tells me that the Magic channel is now hosting me for 9 viewers. I mean, Magic is that's the official WotC channel, right? I'm not misremembering that. I feel like I gotta do a double. Take there. Oh yeah. Well then. Yep, getting a screenshot of that one. I can only assume someone's about to get fired. That's, that. No, because they didn't just sign off. Someone must have switched it, or like it automated and switched. There is a setting. There's a setting in Twitch. There's a setting in Twitch where you can toggle, our viewer count jumped up a ton too. That's interesting. There's a setting in Twitch that you can toggle that is on by default, I think, that you host other similar channels to you. Like I've had Channel Fireball host my channel before once or twice in an automated way. I don't know if that could just be automated. All right, this is the draw we were looking for, right? Like we said, we needed a land, and Thassa helped us find one there a little bit. And then we can grab Tidebinder and Brazen Borrower. And then if they don't have Shrapnel Blast, this Thassa being indestructible and then making our creatures unblockable could maybe win this game. Especially if our opponent keeps missing color Savannah. Yeah, I don't know, Lost Lurgoyf. Maybe someone from the Magic channel was watching and heard me say if we hit 1,000 viewers, I was going to do a third deck, and they wanted me to do a third deck. Swamp, that's really interesting. So maybe not the Scissors deck, or if they're the Scissors deck, they have a splash. Yeah, could be Dimir maybe. Or maybe they're red-black. Gosh, Shrapnel Blast. Or maybe they're Grixis. Oh, yeah, there's the Tezzeret card that's blue-black 1, right? That makes something a 5/5 if they basically just want more copies of that effect. Tezzeret's Touch or something like that. To me, my company. Urrow's actually not a terrible draw here. I can't escape it back anytime soon, but like gaining a little bit of life is not terrible on this board. Tezzeret Touch, yeah, that's the one. So definitely attacking with this. I think I'm just leaving Thassa back on defense. Yeah, I guess that trade's not great. Let's just have reach. It's probably not a trade I'm supposed to offer, since I need the devotion for this. These Ginger Brutes are very threatening. This is quietly one of the scarier cards of the opponent's archetype. Just make sure your board state not matter as they get past. So can't block any of these because none of my creatures are particularly fast. I wouldn't mind drawing an untapped land here so that way I could go Kumena plus Silvergill. Or Silvergill plus Kumena, excuse me. So we have to reveal the Kumena here. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not blocking anyways, so I might as well attack here then. Yeah, maybe I was a little bit too passive this game, since they have the Ginger Brutes. Hopefully we have time to turn it around here. Declan can block Ginger Brute twice. Yes, he's right, and he always chooses double haste. Okay, there's their blue mana. So they have 2 cards in their hands, so we could see a pair of scissors come down here. If they have scissors, we're dead, right? Because it's 5 plus 5 is 10. Tezzeret's Touch or whatever it's called also kills us. So we have enough unblockability to kill them next turn, except they can gain 6 because these are food golems, so they can sacrifice these to gain 3 life, so they're at a virtual 16. We'll go ahead and we'll draw with Kumena here at end of turn and see where we get going. Merfolk Trickster is actually an incredible draw because it means I don't have to be super aggressive here. I think I'm going to start by attacking with everything but my Lord. Need to just try and close this game out ASAP. Wouldn't be surprised to see like a block ether thing. And I think, honestly, with the Trickster and the Retort here, I think we just pass, right? I guess... No, because they don't even kill me in 2, right? Because I can Trickster Diddle this next turn. So they're going up to 16, and then they'll take 6 back down to 10. Leaves us in a relatively good spot overall. Oh, yeah, that is awkward, huh? This is multicolored, so they can't put it on Stonecoil Serpent? That's weird. Yeah, that's a weird inclusion. Like, they already have 2 ways with the... is it Master Artificer, or whatever it is? The 3 mana one that makes something a 5/5? This sideboard for this list is kind of a hot mess. Counter spell targets you or ability you control. Skilled Animator. Yeah, that's the one. This might be fine. Just like as a way to tempo their big thing. I feel like just a turn is what we need a lot of the time. So we're doing a 3rd deck. Can we do JAC? Yeah, we definitely can enter. 110%. I think on the draw, I'm going to trim a couple of Retorts. It's a little bit difficult to hold this card up when we're going to be tapping out. Easy mulligan here. That last game we mulliganed pretty low too to start, didn't we? What was the 5-card hand we kept? They missed colors for a little bit. I'm gonna keep this, and I think we bottom the company. I think bottoming a land would be greedy, and I get to go 2, 3, 4 here really cleanly. It makes me a little bit sad that we bottomed the company, because we're probably gonna lose the second one. JAC stands for Jeskai Ascendancy Combo. Honestly, this could be the reason they're in black. Like, this is the best piece of disruption in the format, right? It's very, very good. That's a pretty good reason to be in black too, honestly. I don't know if the Tezzeret's touch that they're playing is particularly good, but like access to both Thoughtseize and Scrapheap Scrounger seems really worthwhile. My friend Benjamin could convince me to play a good deck in Modern Freezy Pop. We're going to play the Underworld Breach version, Bone Daddy. There's an Underworld Breach version in the queue. So Weaver gets to diddle the Stonecoil Serpent here, and it doesn't undiddle next turn. And then second Coco is a great draw here. If they don't have Metallic Rebuke or a Stubborn Denial. It could be in an okay spot. Well, the Magic channel just changed to hosting someone else. So either they're just switching off between different people, or they noticed they were hosting me and then switched it. Lantern Control doesn't exist anymore because it doesn't have Opal. Yeah. Yeah, the host change dropped a bunch of viewers. Just the way hosts work is any viewers that are like idling on that channel will be counted as your viewers because they're now watching your stream through their channel. It's one of the benefits of playing on a larger team is you get hosts from other people that are on that team. All right, Thassa. I guess I can't get Thassa and a thing to... Oh, I'm so silly. I could have hit this at enter combat and diddled them off their thing, huh? That's a pretty big mistake. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about Merfolk Trickster, huh? I could have tapped them off of one of these attackers. That's unfortunate. Can I kill them next turn, potentially? If I hit Lord, I have 8-13. No, I don't think so. Tidebinder Mage only taps red or green creatures. So the plan here is to Collected Company into Trickster at enter combat. And tap them off of these. I'm going to hit them here because I need to find Trickster anyways. Yeah, the Lords would activate Thassa, but I only have 8 plus 5, which is only 13. Yep. Alright, so we need like double Trickster, and there's only 2 left in my deck, so likely dead here. If I would have company at the right time last turn, we probably would have won. Feels Collected Company, man. At least we were pretty unlikely to win that one anyways. I wonder if Tidebinder Mage is worse than... There's the 2-drop Flashy Merfolk that bounces something to its owner's hand that's tapped. That could be a reasonable one. Do I have a favorite Pioneer Collected Company deck? I think we played a Pioneer Humans Collected Company deck at one point that felt reasonable. How much democracy to name my daughter? I don't know. I don't know. Hey, that's a phenomenal draw. Can you imagine explaining that to her later in life? Yeah, you know. Well, you see... I hear liability is a hot new name that's trending. Rough. Castle Lochwain seems real ambitious in their deck, huh? Like, they have a ton of colorless lands. This is basically a triple black card. I think I just Kumena because it's resource efficient. Now, something that's fun to note about Benthic Biomancer is this draws a card whenever it gets a 1/1 counter. So that includes when it gets bigger from Kumena. So when we activate Kumena next turn, we're going to get to... Oh, I guess I don't... As I need one more Merfolk to draw a card with, right? I need one more. This is kind of a fish. So I can draw a card here normally by tapping 3, but I can't tap 5 to put counters on yet. Shadow Spear is interesting. I guess this card's difficult to race. Merfolk Trickster's not a bad rip. We'll play Thassa out here. I think I'm just going to pass, and we'll end stat Merfolk Trickster, activate Kumena. Sure. Oh, Shadow Spear does counter Thassa, doesn't it? Or, like, lets her die? This gives something, loses indestructible and hexproof? It's kind of rude. We're going to have a good attack next turn, though. So, like, we get to tap this. They get to put counters on these. Well, I'm not drawing. I'm just getting counters here. So they block here. They take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they're dead. I believe they're dead. All right. So far, the sideboard of this deck has been a hot disaster, but the main decks felt fairly reasonable. Maybe this is fine. Like, I get to go Biomancer on 1, activate Biomancer on 2. If I had a Mutavault, I think I'd keep this. I think with just 5 mana producing lands, it's probably not good enough. Sure. Choked Estuary likely means some kind of inverter combo. You got an Uro in draft. That card's probably worth dollars, right? It's a current set mythic that's super playable. It's a good pickup. 50 tickets. Feels Moto, man. So, I think we just get this into play because having a wizard in play makes these retorts cheaper. Also want to start getting some pressure down here. A little bit fatal in this. Yep. Hey, Hug. Thanks for the 27 months. Welcome back. What's going on, Fall Not Dead? Silvergill's not a bad pickup. We'll start with that one. It's another Woozard. Hopefully going to propel us into a Mutavault or another land here. Okay. If we can draw an untapped land next turn, Collected Company / Wizard's Retort's actually very good to hold up here. It lets us pass, holding up Disruption, but then play a Collected Company to add pressure to the board should our Disruption not have a chance to be used, which is great. Okay, there's the Jace. Interesting that they're electing to mill themselves there. That's perfect. I think I'm supposed to smack Jace here. That's probably optimal. This is technically one of their win conditions. Leaving it in play makes their oracles a little bit better when they're not comboing. Two pair, read them and weep. The one way you can play around Thoughtseize, be lucky enough to draw two pair. So I could have Wizard Retorted there to keep them out of my hand, but I think it's better for me to be able to Collected Company should they not play anything else here. So I'm giving up some information to be able to play Company this turn potentially. Yeah, hopefully they just don't have a second discard spell. That would be not ideal. And like, I can't just let this resolve because, and this is why their deck is so good. Like, they have two discard spells in here. So even though they know I have this other counter spell, they just get to wait until they draw. Did I see Fuji's Discord post? I did not, actually. I just assumed that post was dead. Alright, that's good. I think I'm still gonna fork his project to Freaky. Just because in the future, I would like it to just work on day one. And just like to know that it's gonna be maintained. It's good to know that they'll be updated. That's a good draw. Okay, so now I get to do this, kill Jace. I don't have a counterspell to hold up anyways. Yeah, I think I found someone that's going to fork the actual Deckmaster project for me to Freaky. Make the couple of edits for the server without me having to muck around in it myself. Hey, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Sirin. It's a good grindy game. For sure. Well, shoot. Is this game 1? Hey, thanks, Terminator. I'm gonna go ahead and just cast this now to play around a counterspell. This is game 1, right? I think it's game 1. Now, ideally, we'll draw a Merfolk next turn, and then Silvergill Adept will draw us a land, and then we'll cast Collected Company. Trickster's not bad. Unless they find Dig Through Time, we're in a pretty okay spot here, just because the number of cards that are in their graveyard currently make it difficult for them to combo us. Yeah, that's good to point out, Gilgur. I need to stop playing my land before I collect a company. Thanks, I appreciate it, Freaky. Down to 15. What's going on, Tollsby? Thanks for 11 months. I actually didn't have tonight on the schedule. I talked yesterday about doing it at some point, but I wasn't sure on the exact start time, so I didn't put it up there. Yeah, I really hope they unban some stuff in Historic or Unsuspended or whatever. Be interesting to see when that happens. We should, I believe their timeline said we would find out in March. They would make a decision. I believe they said they would make a decision about what gets suspended, what stays banned on the suspension list, and what comes back when we get the next Historic anthology. I'm kind of hoping they give us Field of the Dead back. We're getting other things banned. Fair. So Tricky Dick here gets to flash in and tap this down, and then we have 11 power in play. But with the Dig Through Time that just resolved, I wouldn't be too surprised if they have like a Fatal Push here to interact with our Lord. Might still be a couple turns off. We also only have one more Lord in our deck, so pretty unlikely to have lethal next turn, even with the extra looks. Yeah, I agree, Fall Not Dead. I'm a little bit sad they never gave Field of the Dead and Oko chances in Standard without Once Upon a Time and without Veil. Like I feel like that card is a different card with those cards gone. Because like you can actually kill it. Is a big difference. So hoping to draw Wizard's Retort here off the Uro so I can hold that up. There's a small chance we die next turn. Oko's still not okay. I don't know about that. I actually think, like, I think Oko's less offensive than Nissa. That's subjective. Feel free to disagree. But especially, I also think, like, in a world without Goose, Oko's not that offensive. There were a lot of things that, like, went right to, like, make Oko the overbearing nightmare that he was. And people are very emotional, and they've been hurt by Oko, so I don't expect them to change their mind if they feel otherwise. Yeah, I think Oko's actually a very interesting Magic card. It has a lot of play to it in a way that's incredibly satisfying. It's a lot of modes every single turn. Yeah, not like think about it, like, if you can't play Oko on 2 and they don't have Veil of Summer, like, they play Oko, they make your thing a 3/3, or they play Oko, they make a food, and then you kill it. Like, a big part of why it was so obnoxious was because it got paired with the other things that protected it so cheaply and efficiently. Oko's super fine for Legacy. That card definitely should not go anywhere in Legacy. Yeah, I agree, Reclaimer. At the very least, even if they don't, I don't expect them to give us Oko back in Standard. I really don't. I don't think it's ever gonna exist. I do hope they give Oko and Field of the Dead a chance in Historic. Like, Veil of Summer and Once are cards that should be shift deleted forever. But I hope they give Oko and Field of the Dead a chance in Historic. In fact, Oko being legal in Historic would actually be really sweet. Field too, just because those cards are banned in Pioneer. So, like, that would give the format something that really makes it distinct from Pioneer, I think, in a good way. There would be play patterns present there that are very different. I think even if they got rid of Nexus, Oko and Field of the Dead are probably reasonable cards to experiment with. I really hope that the use of a suspend list in Historic is not just a gimmick to delay giving people wild cards for their things that get banned. I really hope they're going to leverage that suspend list in a way that's meaningful for making the format really test things off and on. Field of the Dead got banned because, honestly, Pioneer was very different before Theros. I think if they don't ban Inverter and this Underworld Breach deck, Field of the Dead's probably a very safe unban in this format. So, removal spell here is the reason why I let on the Tidebinder Mage as opposed to the Mistbinder. Vomit. That's so good. These Inverter decks are just very powerful post-board, getting to switch up their game plan to whatever suits their fancy. We lost to Packrat out of one of them earlier today. Liliana, the Last Hope, seems good as well. Yeah, I agree, Fall Not Dead. I do think Field of the Dead would be fine in the current standard format. I agree with that conclusion. I think I'm just passing here. I don't think there's a reason to play out Collected Company into their open mana. I could potentially hit a Lord and then like let Mistbinder pressure Liliana, but I think that upside is pretty low, and the downside of running into a counterspell here is pretty high. They probably have like Mystic Dispute. Some of these decks play Sabotage, and like if they Field of Ruin me here, I get to go ahead and Collected Company now in response and resolve this. The thing that makes Field of the Dead safer now is the fact that the decks that are good in a post-Theros world in this format are fast and brutal in a way that beats up Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead is too good in a format where the inevitability that Field of the Dead provides goes way over the top of all these other mid-range and fair decks. But these combo decks that are now kind of omnipresent in the format, they don't care about inevitability. They just combo kill you. Almost assuredly Fall Not Dead. Theros did incredibly good things for the current standard format. Current standard format is probably my favorite standards been since Guilds of Ravnica, which is speaking highly of it because that was one of my favorite standard formats of all time. If we don't have like another Collected Company here, we're probably just too far gone. We'll have to go to game 3 on the play. This is Mutavault's actually a good draw because it's a threat that can pressure this, that doesn't die to a sweeper and doesn't get hit by this -2/-1. So if they don't have a piece of spot removal for the Mutavault could keep us in this game by preventing the Liliana from ultimating in 2 turns. Still hoping to find Collected Company. Basically, Collected Company is basically the only card we want to draw in spots like this. Just like the single best card we can find. It's our only way to generate 2-for-1s. I'm going to go and animate Mutavault here. If they have a removal spell, I'm going to concede because we won't beat this emblem, creating an endless supply of zombies when they're at this much life. Hey, what's going on, Timor? Yeah, there's a lot of really good aggressive and combo decks in standard right now, too. Like I said, I think Field of the Dead would be fine in the standard format. Yeah, take it out back and actual factual Doomblade. Actual factual Doomblade. I don't think that's too unpopular of an opinion, Fall Not Dead. I think there's a number of cards in War of the Spark, Planeswalkers that are reasonable. I think Ashiok and Tibalt, 3-mana Domri. There's a lot of good War of the Spark Planeswalkers. Couple of real stains, but decent batch overall for sure. Thanks, Fantasy End. I think if I miss on a blue land here, I'm supposed to just fart this, so that way we can try and loot into one. Oh. There's a New Hampshire poll that has Biden at 10%. That's so exciting. I want Biden to just completely fall on his face almost as badly as I want Bernie to win. both of those things could happen, I would be a happy individual. All right, I think I just pass here. I can hold the retort up since we drew the blue source. Yeah, I'm gonna call it a night after Merfolk. I don't think I can. I can be live past midnight. Just gonna stick to 2 like the plan was. Huh? I'm gonna be greedy and ditch the land. Sorry, Anner. Immediately punished. I feel like creature lands are hard to balance. I see Mutavault in a lot of Pioneer decks, but Mobilize District isn't really seen. No, not really. I think the last batch of creature lands did a good job of being pretty balanced overall. Boo. It's only 9:15 Pro Tour time. It's 10:15 here. And this league's probably, this is only match 4, right? Yeah, this league's probably gonna be another half hour yet. And very, very real chance. Rage and Ravine. I think that batch of creature lands was too good. I think Creeping Tar Pit, Colonnade, and Raging Ravine, I probably wouldn't want printed into this format directly. Biden needs to learn that not all sidekicks get upgrades. They don't all get promoted. Not all of their spin-offs are successful. Deal. Yeah, I agree, Tuber. We're going back to Zendikar this summer, right? I would kind of expect some creature lands in there too. Please don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Ooh, Dem's real good. Dem's real good. Thanks, CJ. I think with the retort in hand, I'm supposed to jam this Biomancer here. We've beaten Inverter tonight. Yeah, we actually beat Inverter earlier in this league with this deck. This archetype felt super reasonable. Like, one of the things that's tough about the Inverter deck is you have to have counter spells or discard to interact with it, and like, this is an aggressive deck that gets to play counter spells. He says before they thought sees him, and then Wrath is bored. Thanks for the 1.5 years, Kurtz and Shi. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Do you have a sweeper? Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything? I want 2 lands your left. Don't cast a sweeper, but they might spot remove the Mistbinder. Sometimes I adapt my Biomancer. Sometimes I draw cards with the Tyrant. It all keeps setting up. Are these Merfolk enough? Do 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 you know, it was like solid like B minus. I know most of the lyrics to that song. Definitely not one of my best, but certainly not awful. Could have been markedly worse, chat. Could have been markedly worse. All right, so I think because they went to 2 here, I go ahead and play out this Kumena, which is kind of playing into a Languish, but because they're at 2, just a Languish isn't enough, right? Because they need Languish, plus they need a way to answer this Mutavault. So I feel like we're in an okay spot here. Yeah, so we're actually like 2-0 against Inverter tonight. And like, so like, one of the things that I think is worth discussing is it's something that comes up a lot. Hey, thank you for the 2.5 years, Zach. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Something that gets brought up a lot with regards to format management is there's a lot of people that I think if a deck is beatable by something, then it shouldn't be bannable. And I do think that there are ways to attack the inverter decks, and I think decks like this are one of the best ways to do that, which is we're a deck that can apply pressure to the opponent while also getting to play counter magic. I think that's the single best way to attack that archetype, because counter magic is the one meaningful way you can really interact with what they're doing when you're not getting Thoughtseize. That being said, I don't think just because there's something that beats it makes it okay. I feel like it's not enough. Yeah, Soulflare gets to play four Thoughtseize, which also is reasonable. Easy mulligan here, no second land. Yeah, actually the one change I feel like I would make to this list so far from what we've played out is I would like to replace the Tidebinder Mages with, is it Harbinger of the Tides? What's the 2-drop that you can pay for to flash it in? I feel like a little bit more flashy so I can have more options when I pass with Wizard's Retort up would be nice. Is that Harbinger of the Tides? Yeah, that one. Harbinger of the Tides. Not Harbinger, Harbinger. Yeah, I think that would be better than what's it called? The Uros have also been quite medium. I feel like 4 Brazen Borrower is probably reasonable. Just like provides 2 blue devotion. Thassa's been quite good in our game so far as well. Is this deck just non-flying Bant Spirits? Yeah, I think it has some parallels to Bant Spirits. I don't think that's an unfair comparison. Silvergill Adept is very good. I don't know. I guess Spirits could maybe play Wizard's Retort, but we do get to leverage this card really nicely, which is great. do I jam Tidebinder Mage or no? I feel like the answer is no. Like, next turn I can shock this in, fire up Mutavault, and, like, attack and still hold up Retort here. Are we winning? We have one more than we've lost so far in this league. So that's nice. We have won 3 matches and we have lost 1. Deck overall has felt very reasonable. Winning more than losing is fun. It doesn't necessarily mean our deck is good, though. It's important to hear. Mutavaults are great because they let us not extend into sweepers while still adding pressure. Moto interface thing here. I just played a new Mutavault. If you right-click on the Mutavault, you will see the word newly controlled on the one you just played. So this way you don't accidentally animate a Mutavault that you just played. Because if you animate the one you just played, it cannot attack because it will be summoning sick. Good interface tip there. I do think I just jammed this Tidebinder Mage. I just put as much pressure as possible into play. If they play like a Rekindling Phoenix or a Glory Banger or some other red roadblock, I'm going to be sad that I burned this. So maybe this is too aggressive. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe this was wrong. Well, that was an okay draw. I think I do this and just smack them for 6. I'm like trading one of my Merfolk for 6 points of damage here. Is Elves a thing in Pioneer? It is not. If you scroll back on my YouTube archives, we played Elves last week, and it was, like, very medium. Just does not have meaningful disruption. Spells are just a little bit too clunky. The big problem with Elves is that, like, the only good 1-drop they can play is Land War Elves and Elvish Mystic, and I really feel like the archetype needs, like, 12 good 1-drops at a minimum, maybe even more. Doesn't have, like, Heritage Druid to be explosive like it is in Modern. Don't Glory Bang me. Don't Glory Bang me. Angrath. Well, that's also not stellar for me. Alright, another Lord is still lethal. Yeah, so Angrath steals my creature, and then if it costs 3 or less, it dies. So they get to smack me for 2, and then my thing dies. So another Lord here would kill them. Go ahead, let us hit them for 6. Tricky Dick. Tricky Dick also does it, huh? Good beats. Tidebinder Mage is also lethal here. So we had 2 Mistbinders, Trickster, and then Tidebinder Mage that were all lethal there. Feels pretty good. Cerulean Drake is probably stellar. Seems real good. Warden of the Waves seems potentially fine. Makes their stuff cost more to target my things. I think I'm gonna cut Kumena. I feel like this card's been kind of middling. It's probably fine for like the mid-range matchups. I'm not sure Uro too. He takes a while to get going. Our deck just doesn't put enough cards in the bin for this to be really useful, I don't think. Yeah, Sand sounds great. Thanks, All Night. Have a good evening. Is Rakdos mid-range any good? To set a low bar, I think splashing Thoughtseize into the red mid-range deck probably makes you less bad against Inverter. This is a mid-range matchup. Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, I actually can't cast this yet, huh? That's a scotch awkward, I suppose. This is actually technically not a fish, it's just a god. We are expanding out to 5, isn't it? Christy's due in June. You want to see some adorable pictures she took with Jake and Declan today? God of fish, not a fish. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's incredibly rude. Well, now we don't really want to play the Silvergill Adept out. Well, family member number 5, third child. Sure. Huh. So, with that play, do I Tidebinder? Wow, that's great. All right, so top this. Tidebinder, Merfolk Trickster, Thassa kills Liliana. Thassa's been really impressive. I kind of feel like I want a third copy of her. I know we can find her with Collected Company, but like she's been really good. I feel like trying to leverage Thassa a little bit better in this deck is something I'm interested in doing. I feel like I want Tidebinder Mages in the 75, but maybe not all main deck. Yeah, she's a card that's like, she's okay in multiples. She could scry extras away a lot of the time. Rude. Yeah, that sounds fine. I think I just pass here. So we can flash in Trickster plus play Wizard Retort here, which is great. Yeah, it is. So Tricky Dick, Diddle your Phoenix, Wizard's Retort, your Angrath Rampage, your Angrath here. The Flame Chained. Probably Collected Company at sorcery speed, turn on the Thassa and smack them. Unless we like draw Tidebinder Mage. I think I'm in for that. It's a threat that doesn't care about a sweeper. Silvergill Adept gets to draw a card here. I think that's better than a Lord. Smack him for 7. And then Thassa has an activated ability here too, so like, if they don't sweep my board and they just like play blockers, Thassa can pay 2 to make things unblockable, including herself. Which kills them through a lot of board states. Yeah, I definitely want a third Thassa in here. I wasn't expecting a lot from this deck, and it's been really impressive. Some Anger of the Gods here, Sweltering Suns, whatnot. Kick man, sure. They have another removal spell here. They have another removal spell. We need to draw a double blue card again next turn. But if they don't have a way, yeah, not having Thassa active next turn feels bad. Hopefully we can just draw another double blue Merfolk and then go Silvergill plus that. Get 2 shots at it with the Scribe. I think I keep this. Because that lets me go cast this reveal. Which gives me another shot. They only have 1 card left in their hand, but they have 3 Bone Crusher Giants in exile. We get a Scry, a Draw Step, and then a Loot with Biomancer next turn. Alright, do you have a spell or he's playing 2/4/3s here? Yeah, we could also just double unblockable, is correct. I assume they're gonna smack us for 4 here. Maybe they don't. They just play defense. This card is just you can't play defense against this card. It doesn't give you the option. Like if they attack and we draw a Tidebinder Mage or a Trickster, they just die. Brazen Borrower also lethal. A lot of lethal draws here, and we get 2 shots at him because we describe. I think the opponent's in a pretty bad spot. Kind of a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. Biomancer. Yeah, I think that's fine. Put this towards Demonic Pact. Will do. Okay, that's an interesting one. I think we hold on to that for now. We just make this unblockable and smack them for 2. It's like I could bounce this and get in for 4 here, but bouncing it means that they get a Bone Crusher back to their hand that can stop something next turn, which is not ideal. So we go to 6 here. And then they're going to play 2 4/3s, but then they're dead, right? Because I play Brazen Borrower, which makes Thassa a creature. Thassa makes herself unblockable, and then they can't block one of these 2, so they take exactly 7. So just like dead to any point of devotion here. Good clean living. Yeah, we won a lot of games in the back of Thassa. Alright, so thoughts on this. 1, was really impressed what was going on here overall. Had low expectations going in, and they were definitely thoroughly exceeded. Kamena was like okay at some points, and Uro was just bad. I would definitely get rid of him. maybe it's worth considering. Kumena, maybe we leave a couple in. Thassa really overperformed for me in that set. I would definitely get a third copy of her in there. Borrower, in part because we're adding more Thassa, I think is really good. This also gives us more flashy things to do when we're passing with like Retort, Collecting Company, Borrow. It's like, okay, which of these combinations of things are they holding up? Double Blue Devotion for Thassa is also good. Harbinger of the Tides, I think is a card worth considering because it's another card that's like also a flashy threat. I think there's a very real possibility that this card's just better than Tidebinder Mage in the main deck. I think I would definitely play Tidebinder in the 75. I think it's super reasonable in general, but I kind of feel like this is a little bit more flexible card to put in the main. It's also possible like Kumena's not good enough, and maybe you play 2 Tidebinders and 4 Harbingers here. So like this is getting more of this effect in the 2 slot gives you more double devotion here, which is good. So like more double blue cards for Thassa seems very reasonable. This is also a wizard for Wizard Retort, which is great. Now the one thing I would want to do is people often ask me about deck building. The number 1 deck building rule is learn how to use Scryfall's advanced search. So I would like to know what Merfolk are legal in Pioneer that have a CMC equal to 1. Search with these options. So is there another playable Merfolk in this format in the 1 mana slot? Each player reveals the top card of the library. You may put the revealed cards in their graveyards. If you don't, each player draws a card. Yeah, not really. None of these look particularly good enough. Jade Bearer's like the closest, but we only have 12. Or we actually have 14 green on 1. Now I guess this isn't even a Merfolk you want to play on 1, right? Because like it puts a counter on something. I guess Kumena Speaker is a card you could play. But like, yeah, Kumena Speaker would be better if I wanted that type of effect, but I'm not even sure like Kumena Speaker is worthwhile. Like, I kind of feel like if I were to try this again, I would start here. I feel like this is the main deck I would try if I were to try this again. As far as sideboard goes, hey, Uzep, thank you for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome to Hoaglandia. Storm Tamer and Phyrexian Evoker, I think those are probably hot nonsense. Maybe a couple of Drakes are fine. I definitely want these Tidebinder Mages. I think Weaver actually seems pretty reasonable as another way to just like generate some tempo. I think Koopa, Warden of Waves here. This is a card too where like if you don't think you want Tidebinder Mage, I think this could be a card that you could even reasonably play in the main deck. It's double blue devotion. It makes your things harder to kill. So maybe you do this and just like get rid of these Drakes. I'm not sure Kumena is something you want. Yeah, as far as other things for the sideboard, I think Dispute is definitely a card you want. This is a card. I felt like I wanted 2 to 3 more counter spells in the Inverter matchup. Like, when we saw Wizard Retorts, we did well there. So I feel like 2 or even 3 of these in the sideboard is probably the approach I would like to take there. And then, as far as what the rest of the sideboard goes, kind of pick and choose what you want to beat and how. Damping Sphere could be a card you want. And again, like, if there's changes to Pioneer coming on Monday, that could dictate what you want the sideboard to look like. But like in a format where Lotus Field, the Lotus Breach deck is still legal, Damping Sphere is probably something you want access to in there. So, but again, I think this main deck felt very reasonable. We had a good mix of small amounts of interaction and also reasonable beatdown between our Lord effect here and then Thassa being a giant beater with our blue devotion. All right. At any rate, I thought I might do another one, but this league ended up taking 2 hours, and I'm an old man, chat. I'm feeling kind of tired. It's quarter to 11 here. I'm gonna go ahead and take off for the evening. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I am taking tomorrow off from being live. I'll probably be responding to deck submissions and doing other off-stream work. I'll be back Monday morning with some Pioneer to start things off. First thing, I'll tweet my final schedule for Monday. Tomorrow at some point and post it in the subs Discord. Thanks everybody who hung out. We played this deck and one other. If you missed Red White Feather before this, all of it's going to go up on YouTube momentarily as always. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for the well wishes. Super excited to expand our family this summer, and catch all y'all later. Everybody have a good night.